1970 was a violent and volatile year. American troops were now crossing the Cambodian border, marking an escalation in the Vietnam War. The Kensington massacres took place, and bombings and riots were commonplace on many American campuses. This is Iola, 1987, now a sleepy mid-Wisconsin village of 957 people. A town basically untouched by most of the problems of our world and our society. But back in that volatile year of 1970, Iola, Wisconsin was reminded of some of the problems of our world when they came to it in the form of the Iola Rock Fest. By 1970, the counterculture had become firmly rooted in American society. This new social and political force had become very active in the years before the event in Iola. Communal living had become commonplace, and everyone had heard of the miracle of Woodstock.
Woodstock. The event itself attracted 500,000 people, all living together for a weekend, with no reported rapes, assaults, or violence of any type. The general public was simply in awe of the success that was Woodstock. To many, the success of Woodstock had formed a certain mystique around the counterculture. It was this mystique, this searching for another glorious triumph of love and brotherhood, that fathered hundreds of smaller events throughout the nation. In the Midwest, we had several such events. They were often loosely disguised under such names as people's fairs, music festivals, or art fairs. Such events were held locally at places like Kickapoo Creek and Poinette. However, neither of these were to be near the size or have near the impact of the Iola Rock Fest.
The Iola Rock Fest, fair under the sign of cancer, was a brainchild of Fritz von Buchholz of Stevens Point. Von Buchholz announced that he would be holding a music festival. However, at the time, the exact location was unknown. Then, on June 17th, 9 days before the festival, he announced that it would be held here, on a 201-acre site, on the borders between Waupaca and Portage counties, in the town of New Hope in Portage County, and in the village of Iola in Waupaca County. The exact reason people came is uncertain. Some came for the friendship, others to make a political statement, some for the drugs, others simply to have a good time, or any combination of these factors. But no matter what other reasons people had for coming, the main attraction was still the music.
The talent was organized by North Central Productions of Madison, which was represented by Larry Schumann. The music was supplied by many of the biggest names in music at the time. The list includes Buffy St. Ravi Shankar, Mason Proffitt, Buddy Rich, and Chuck Berry. Also performing were several lesser-known local bands, such as Tails, Moses Godfrey, White Lightning, U.S. Pure, and Sue. Also at the event were some little-known bands at the time, but one soon to be popular, such as Ted Nugent, Brownsville Station, and Cheap Trick, which was playing under the name Fuse at the time. A total of 37 bands in all performed at the fest. Why people came may be uncertain, but the fact that they did is not. The festers came from all over the Midwest, but especially Wisconsin. Large amounts of people came from the Fox Valley as well as Madison areas. The exact count of how many people came is a point of some debate. Reports in local papers put the figure between 40 and 70,000. The highest and probably most accurate count, however, came from Opaka County Sheriff Lauren Frazier. Sheriff Frazier was in command of the police checkpoint, which was the only way in or out of the festival grounds. The official count that was registered at this checkpoint was 85,000 people, with a maximum of between 65 and 70,000 on the grounds at any one time.
Let my best friend take off for a ride. Well, I won't read about my baby. Let my best friend take off for a ride. They left at 5 o'clock this evening. Now it's 12 o'clock outside. I didn't mean to hurt her, but she came on me about my mind.
Once the festival goers arrived on the grounds, they were met by festival security guards, a 6-foot-high cyclone fence, and a stiff $14 entrance fee if you hadn't bought a $10 ticket in advance, which, incidentally, was exactly twice the price of the tickets at Woodstock. As soon as you passed through the gate, there was no longer any real security or law enforcement. The 150-man festival security force, under the control of Dutch Bruner, Electro Securities of Madison, was basically only concerned with security at the gate, control of the money, and security around the stage area. Local law enforcement, under the command of Sheriff Nick Check, consisted of around 50 men from several surrounding communities. However, these men were not on the festival grounds at any time. This was because the festival promoters had promised that they would provide security on the grounds. So the local authorities only concerned themselves with traffic control and protecting local citizens. Once on the fest grounds, you were greeted by an entirely different world from the one you left on the other side of the fence. Inside this world, the music played almost continually. Despite some early troubles with the sound system, amplifiers boomed away 18 hours of the day to the joy of most everyone. The only thing as common as the music was the drugs, and they were everywhere. Portage County Sheriff Nick Check called the event nothing but a big lawless drug party. People not only openly sold their drugs, they even put out signs advertising whatever they were selling. Marijuana was $10 a lid or ounce, LSD was 50 cents a hit, and speed went for as little as 10 pills for $1. Alcohol was also plentiful. Ripple wine and assorted varieties of other cheap wines could be purchased. Food was also available on the festival grounds. A tent was selling chicken for $1.50, another tent was selling brown rice and oatmeal, still others hamburgers, hot dogs, and sundaes. There was also a medical tent in the grounds. The medical facilities were under the charge of Dr. Steve Saverin of Madison. Aside from professional medical help, there was also several volunteer acid rescue squads. The acid rescue squads, which could easily be identified by the smaller red crosses on the side of the vehicles, roamed the festival grounds and helped people who were on a bad drug trip. Even though on the surface, the event looked as if it would proceed trouble-free, you do not have to be on the fest grounds long before you started to notice some major problems. Sanitary facilities were painfully inadequate. Long lines developed at the 118 toilets provided, and several of these were unusable by Saturday morning. Another agonizing problem that soon arose was a lack of clean water. Fest promoters had promised that there would be plenty of clean water for everyone, but the trucks that came in were few and far between. Despite the poor conditions, most will agree that they felt a sense of community with their fellow festival goers. Some people who I've interviewed said that this was the only time in their lives that they actually felt that they were part of a community. This sense of brotherhood and community was soon to be severely strained. The causes of the strain were many. The alcoholic haze caused by the cheap wine, the high caused by the drugs, the poor sanitary conditions, but especially the bikers. There were members from several motorcycle gangs at the Iola Rock Fest, most notably the Zodiacs, the Milwaukee Eagles, the Hells Angels of Chicago, the Rockford Drifters, the Milwaukee Outlaws, as well as many other bikers with no clear allegiance to any group.
Being that there was basically no security on the inside of the festival grounds, the bikers were simply free to do as they pleased. Fortunately, for the most part, they stayed to themselves. The bikers occupy the only structure on the festival grounds, an old barn, and only occasionally do they leave this area. But when they did, the results were usually disastrous. This included many reported armed robberies, assaults, and rapes.